Hello friends, we have finally made it to the video that everyone has been waiting for. In today's video, I'll be sharing with you my top 25 roller coasters as of early 2024. As a refresher, I have currently been on 206 different roller coasters throughout the country, with more coming soon. However, here are the 25 best roller coasters that I have done. I absolutely love all these roller coasters and they are all phenomenal. I'd rate each coaster either a 9.5 or a 10 and they are all great in their own way. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Number 25, Goliath at Six Flags Over Georgia. I haven't been on this B&M hypercoaster since 2017, but I still will never forget how incredible this coaster was. What I love about Goliath is that it has such a fun and exciting layout, filled with some great flow to airtime hills. I love how it goes outside of the park and that helix halfway through the ride is very intense. I remember graying out during that moment, and this is very fierce for a B&M Hyper. While Goliath is definitely not the smoothest coaster, and it does have quite a strong layout throughout the entire course, I still loved this coaster, and it makes me want to return to Six Flags Over Georgia in the near future just to ride this monster B&M Hypercoaster. Number 24, The Beast at Kings Island. This spot might shock some people, but the Beast truly blew me away. While the layout mostly consists of straight track and turns, what I loved is how it went deep into the woods and how aggressive this coaster ran. It had the kind of roughness that added to the coaster, and plus, I love how long this ride is. It is one of the world's longest roller coasters, and while this wooden coaster doesn't offer much in terms of airtime, the whole experience of this coaster and the setting is truly what makes the Beast stand out compared to some of the other coasters out there. And you gotta ride this classic wooden coaster whenever you're at Kings Island. It's more than worth it. Number 23, Pipeline the Surf Coaster at SeaWorld Orlando. This is SeaWorld Orlando's new surf coaster, and it took the stand-up model that no one really liked and turned it into something amazing. I was seriously blown away by this roller coaster when I first rode it. The layout does consist of helixes and bank turns and a very unique inversion, but what's so cool about Pipeline is that during any airtime moment, the seats bounce up, giving you this unique sensation of airtime that we've never seen before, and I love it. Plus, the coaster is very smooth, pretty intense, and the launch is amazing. Honestly, it's a huge win for SeaWorld Orlando, and it's more than worth a trip to SeaWorld just to ride this one roller coaster. Number 22, Stormrunner at Hershey Park. This coaster is shorter, but it packs a huge punch. This is Hershey Park's Intimate Accelerator coaster, and I loved this roller coaster while I rode it in 2018, but I got to ride it this past summer, 5 years later, and this coaster still holds up. The launch is very powerful and very intense. I love the use of the setting of this coaster, but for me the best part is that flying snake roll. The way it twists you is just wild and it really disorients you. It has to rank there as one of my all-time favorite coaster inversions. While this ride could be longer, this ride packs a lot in 30 seconds and it is a ride that you must experience if you go to Hershey Park. Number 21, Millennium Force at Cedar Point. This Giga coaster often gets crapped on by coaster enthusiasts, but honestly, I don't understand the hate for this coaster. This coaster is incredible in its own way. While Millennium Force doesn't do much in terms of airtime, this is such a consistent coaster, it's a very long ride, and it is intense. I grayed out during every single ride at the bottom of the first drop. Plus, Millennium Force has a beautiful lift hill. Being next to the lake, getting that view of Lake Erie is just phenomenal. And overall, this coaster is really just such a masterpiece, and I can understand why someone would call this a top 5 coaster. Number 20, Mystic Timbers at Kings Island. I am a fan of GCI, and this is absolutely my favorite coaster from the manufacturer. This coaster has some serious ejector airtime, it's super well paced, it's one of the smoothest wooden roller coasters that I've experienced, and I love the theming of this ride. Yeah, the advertising for what's in the shed was questionable, but it's honestly the best that they could have done. Plus, I love the setting of this roller coaster and the fact that you are flying through the woods, over water, and even through tunnels. It's spectacular, and this is honestly my favorite roller coaster at Kings Island. Number 19, Kumba at Busch Gardens Tampa. This coaster might be 30 years old, but it still remains one of the most intense and fierce B&M coasters out there. This coaster has an amazing layout filled with incredibly forceful inversions. It has my favorite Cobra roll that I've ever experienced. It has the craziest 0G roll anywhere, and plus the helix at the end is just crazy. It has a little bit of roughness here and there, but it's the vintage kind of roughness that you'd expect from such a classic roller coaster, and Kumba shows that with age, coasters can still run great. Number 18, Manu at Busch Gardens Tampa. Manu is the king of inverted coasters for a reason. This invert has the full package. I love how whippy the inversions are. It's a very long ride, and Manu is also very smooth for its age. Plus, the Batwing is easily one of the most intense inversions I have ever experienced. Sit in the back row left seat if you want the best forces. I also love how you dive in and out of these trenches. Manu is easily my favorite B&M inverted coaster so far, and it's going to be very tough for any inverted coaster to top this one. Number 17, the Incredible Hulk coaster at Universal's Islands of Adventure. This is one of the most iconic roller coasters in the world, and it is for sure one of my all-time favorites. This coaster has an incredible first launch out of the tunnel. The inversions are very intense, and I love the music played on this coaster. The on-ride soundtrack for this ride has to be one of my favorites found on any roller coaster. While the second half does slow you down quite a bit, it's not enough to ruin the ride, and honestly, it fits even the music quite well. Plus, in 2016, the coaster did get a retracking and has ran very smooth since. Universal has an amazing roller coaster on their hands, and this is one ride that never gets old. Number 16, Jersey Devil coaster at Six Flags Great Adventure. I really don't understand the hate for this coaster. This was the first and only RMC single rail coaster that I have experienced, so maybe that plays a factor, but I seriously think this ride is incredible. What makes me love this ride is how strong the ejector airtime is. This ride just violently throws you all over the place, and it really surprised me. Plus, it's very smooth, I love the inversions, and it really gives you that out of control sensation. Jersey Devil coaster makes me look forward to experiencing more single rail coasters in the future, and RMC should be very proud for making such a great coaster. Number 15, Lightning Rod at Dollywood. I know Lightning Rod has seen much change over the years, but this coaster in my opinion is still a mind-blowing experience that you can't get on any other wooden roller coaster. The launch did accelerate you quite fast, and the turns still give great lateral airtime. But my favorite part of this roller coaster is honestly the quad down, which remains my all-time favorite airtime moment on any roller coaster. The fact that each hill gets stronger is just crazy. Plus, I love how Lightning Rod uses the terrain. I never rode this coaster in its original days when the coaster ran full speed, but this coaster still blew me away enough to really love this roller coaster. And honestly, I'll be curious to see how this coaster rides once they add that high-speed lift hill to replace the launch system. Number 14. Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind at Epcot. This roller coaster opened in 2022, and this coaster proves that you do not need a very intense or thrilling roller coaster to be great. What makes this ride awesome is that it's just so much fun. First off, I love the pre-show for this attraction as you teleport for a demonstration of the Cosmic Generator, but then everything goes wrong as the generator is stolen, and it is up to the Guardians to get the generator back and to get everyone home safely. Going into the roller coaster, this ride has an amazing reverse launch, lots of twists and turns in the dark, and most importantly, music. This coaster has 6 different songs that you could get, so it makes this coaster very re-rideable, and jamming to each song is just so much fun. It is my favorite indoor roller coaster at the moment, my favorite spinning roller coaster, and also my favorite Disney roller coaster. Number 13, Hagrids Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure at Universal's Islands of Adventure. Hagrids is another example of that you don't need a super intense roller coaster to be truly phenomenal, but Hagrids truly excels in creating a truly magical experience. The reason why I have Hagrids higher than Guardians is because I do prefer physical sets to mainly screens. Going into the coaster itself, this ride has the full package from 7 different launches, a drop track, a backward section, multiple animatronics, and some incredibly detailed rockwork and buildings. Plus, getting a night ride on this coaster in the front row in the bike seat is the definition of magical. This is currently my favorite family coaster out there and is one ride that everyone will love. Number 12, Mako at SeaWorld Orlando. This is pretty much the roller coaster that I have been on more times than any other roller coaster since the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic started, and this coaster never gets old. I have been on almost every B&M hypercoaster in the United States, and Mako has the greatest airtime that I've experienced on any B&M coaster. The floater airtime you experience on Mako is very consistent and strong. I love how smooth this coaster is, how Mako is over the water for most of the ride, and is also one of the most re-rideable coasters out there. My favorite elements would have to be the drop and the speed hill before the mid-course brake run. Plus, I love marathoning this coaster non-stop at night in the back row. Overall, Mako is my current favorite B&M hypercoaster out there, and it'll be tough beating this masterpiece of a roller coaster. Number 11, Kingda Ka at Six Flags Great Adventure. This is known as the world's tallest roller coaster and North America's fastest roller coaster, and this coaster lives up to its name as the King of Coasters. The first launch accelerates you at an astonishing 128 miles per hour, and you feel that speed. The top hat also gives some amazing views, especially on a clear day where you can actually see nearby cities like Philadelphia and New York. The drop feels like you're skydiving, and the airtime hill at the end is tons of fun. Yes, I found Kingda Ka to be a little rattly, and I wish it had lap bars. However, I still loved this roller coaster, and it proves that short bursts of intensity are all that you need for a memorable experience. Number 10, Maverick at Cedar Point. This coaster is smaller, but it packs a big punch. The first half consists of a nice fun boost, a fun beyond vertical drop, some rapid fire transitions, and 2 inversions. Afterwards, this ride surprises you with an unexpected launch, which is very intense, and those stangle dives, which are just crazy. Maverick proves that you don't need crazy stats for such an incredible ride, and this was the coaster that ended the Coaster Wars. I absolutely love this roller coaster, and it remains one of my all-time favorite launch coasters out there. Number 9, Twisted Timbers at King's Dominion. This was the first RMC hybrid that I've experienced back in 2019, and this roller coaster is absolutely incredible. Not only is Twisted Timbers one of the smoothest roller coasters that I've personally experienced, but the airtime is very aggressive, violent, and I love the inversions that this roller coaster offers. Plus, the rollover drop was tons of fun, and that trick track double up is honestly one of the most violent elements that I've experienced on any RMC. This coaster might be my lowest ranked RMC, but I still love this roller coaster. It is one incredible addition to King's Dominion and one ride that you have to go on if you visit King's Dominion. Number 8, Skyrush at Hershey Park. I unfortunately didn't get to ride this during my latest visit to Hershey Park as we got rained out and it was having technical issues, but I will still never forget my ride from 2018, and I still question to myself as to how this ride is even legal. First off, that drop is just demented. It feels like a car crash, which is insane. Next, it has the strongest airtime that I've experienced on any roller coaster anywhere. The way it launches you out of your seat makes you think that you're actually gonna fly out. Plus, it's one of the most intense roller coasters that I have ever experienced. I know this coaster can be controversial due to the restraints, but honestly, I had no issues with them, and I was honestly just stunned at how insane Skyrush is. Number 7, El Toro at Six Flags Great Adventure. This is hands down the greatest wooden roller coaster I have ever experienced. What makes this roller coaster so spectacular is how they took a traditional wooden roller coaster and made it very extreme. The airtime is some of the greatest in the world. It's very intense for any roller coaster in general. I mean, those turns in the second half pushed me towards my seat, and the drop is one of the greatest I've ever experienced. Yes, this coaster has some rough patches, especially during the turn after the third airtime hill, but this coaster proves that wooden coasters are capable of anything, and I get why enthusiasts rank this coaster so high. It's just because it's just such an incredible roller coaster, and it's the one roller coaster that I would highly recommend you experiencing at Six Flags Great Adventure. Number 6, Fury 325 at Carowinds. Yes, Fury 325 had many issues this past summer, but you cannot deny that this is the greatest B&M roller coaster ever built. This coaster has the full package from great airtime, crazy sheer speeds, and an incredible first drop that literally lasts for an eternity. Plus, it is an incredibly long ride, and I love how it flies at 95 miles per hour through 2 states. When I rode this coaster for the first time back in 2016, I called it my number 1 roller coaster overall, and the fact that this coaster still remains in my top half to this day is saying something about how incredible this coaster is, and is one ride that I would highly recommend experiencing if you visit Carowinds. Number 5, Wildcats Revenge at Hershey Park. This is Hershey Park's RMZ conversion of the old Wildcat, and what a ride this is. Wildcats Revenge isn't the tallest RMC in the world, but it rides like one of the fastest out there. The pacing of this ride is phenomenal. Plus, the world's largest underflip was tons of fun, the 0G rolls were amazing, but holy crap, the airtime of this ride is insane! Especially the hills towards the end, which I almost found to be a bit too much. Heck, even the pre-lift is crazy! Wildcats Revenge overall is the most aggressive RMC that I've ever experienced, and it is the new king of Hershey Park. I mean, you look back at my vlog, my mouth was wide open, and honestly, sitting at that brake run, it was wide open for a full minute because I couldn't even believe what I had just experienced. So yeah, this coaster is a true winner in my eyes, and I love it. Number 4, Steel Vengeance at Cedar Point. A lot of people crap on this coaster, as everyone called it the number 1 back when this ride debuted in 2018, but don't let that take away from the fact that this is still one incredible roller coaster, and the coaster that has the full package. Let's go over the list. Incredible drop, check. Crazy inversions, check. Long ride, check. Airtime hills, check. This coaster has the most airtime of any roller coaster anywhere, and it offers different variety from great floater in the beginning to wild ejector pops towards the end. Plus, I love how in the second half, you dive and twist through the structure and it really disorients you. Trust me, I was losing my mind during the second half. This is definitely my favorite roller coaster at Cedar Point and is a must ride for all coaster enthusiasts. Number 3, Intimidator 305 at King's Dominion. This is no joke, the most intense roller coaster I've ever experienced. This coaster takes intensity into a whole new level. After a lift, you plummet down 300 feet into this one turn that is very low to the ground, and you get a very hardcore gray out, and on some days, you might even black out. This turn is absolutely ridiculous, and I've never experienced anything like it. Afterwards, you go through a series of crazy rapid-fire transitions and more forceful turns, and it gives you the feeling of a NASCAR driver. Which makes sense, as this coaster is themed to Dale Earnhardt. If you're one who is crazy for positive forces like I am, then this is the coaster for you. Number 2, IronGuazi at Busch Gardens, Tampa. This is without a doubt the craziest and possibly the most menacing RMC in existence. First off, it has a killer drop. Dropping you from 206 feet at 91 degrees is just crazy, and you get throttled out of your seat, and this is only the start. You also have an amazing overbank, the craziest wave turn ever, and my favorite inversion on an RMC so far, which is the death roll. This inversion twists you downwards and is named after a movement that crocodiles use, and this element is disorienting but in the best way possible. Plus, it has the fastest pacing that I've experienced on a coaster so far. What you see is not sped up, it's literally the coaster just flying through the course. It is definitely the most intense RMC out there, and while we did have to wait through an entire pandemic to finally ride this masterpiece, it was well worth it. Now, before we move on to the number 1 spot, I do have to give an honorable mention to Top Thrill Dragster at Cedar Point. This coaster will be turning into Top Thrill 2 later this year after closing in 2021 due to an accident that occurred. This coaster remained shut down through the 2022 and 2023 seasons. However, it is coming back this summer with a new launch system and a new spike. But out of the 2 strata coasters, I thought this one was the better of the 2, and I'm very excited to see what the future holds for this incredible attraction. Now, on to my number 1 coaster. Number 1, Jurassic World Velocicoaster at Universal's Islands of Adventure. If there's one roller coaster that has everything you could want, it is the Velocicoaster. What makes this my number 1 is how it combines an incredible roller coaster with some of the best theming anywhere. Especially for me, who's a big fan of the Jurassic World franchise, I love it. Going into the coaster itself, the first half is all about interacting with the theming, but you do get some great ejector pops, and the head choppers you experience are nuts. Next, you go into a powerful second launch, and this is where the crazy elements come into play. You've got a crazy top hat, an incredible zero cheese stall, and my favorite inversion of all time, the Mosasaurus roll. The way it twists you and how it tries to kill you is just insane. Plus, the trains are incredible, the operations are some of the best in the world, and the queue line is entertaining. It's all in the recipe for the best roller coaster that I've ever experienced. Alrighty friends, that is going to conclude this list. I know we covered a lot of roller coasters and there is still many roller coasters that I need to get on, but as of right now, in early 2024, this is my top 25 roller coasters list. And thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to give this video a like, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos in the future if you enjoyed this one. And don't forget to turn on those notifications so you know when to upload a new video. And check out Theme Park Guide Productions on all social media platforms. Linktree is going to be in the description below. I will see you guys next time, and you are clear for dispatch.